Welcome to the Pint and Click podcast. I'm Dave. I'm here with Jami and Tony as always, and we like to talk about all forms of media, books, movies, video games, music, whatever you got. Today we're going to talk about all Japanese media, though. Things from Japan, things about Japan, just whatever fascination you may have with Japan that we have, we're going to explore today on the podcast. And I'm going to go first. I'm going to talk about a beloved video game series called Mother that I have enjoyed for all of my adult life. I missed it when I was a kid, and I feel real bad about that. But the ad campaign for the American release was much maligned as they played it as an ordinary game. They played up "This game stinks" as the tagline, which is a little strange. But let's talk about Mother. There are 3 games, one for the Nintendo, one for the Super Nintendo, one for the Game Boy Advance. They were all released in Japan. Only the second one had a formal release in America, and that one is called Earthbound, if you've heard of that game when you were very young. So the Mother series is more or less about a group of kids that are fighting their way through a modern day. And this is a parody, actually, of the RPGs of the time, which were all fantasy. They were all a knight with a sword and a shield and fireball spells, fighting dragons and monsters and things like that. So this one decided to have a little bit of a modern twist, but at the same time parody those gameplay elements in what was really, for my age, way above my head. If I had played it when I was a kid, I wouldn't have gotten it at all, which is probably why the game's commercials didn't appeal to me. But when I came as an adult, I could see, oh, I understand. This is all the tropes redesigned and turned inside out into a game that is actually very touching, very moving. The human elements are very strong in these games. So I'm going to talk about all 3 as best I can. One of the strange things about this series is that it's written in kana and not kanji, which I don't quite understand. But the way I understand it is that's the verbal pronunciation language that they use instead of the written language.
If I can jump in here.
Please do.
So the kana is the syllables. So it's the phonetic sounds, and those are actually the Japanese symbols, whereas the kanji is Chinese. So when the kanji came over, because they had a written language before Japan had a written language, they then put those pronunciations onto the kanji as their own. So the kana are like the syllables, but most words are a combination of kanji, which are the original Chinese characters, and then the kana, which aren't used as like ideograms in themselves. They're just phonetic.
Right. So the point of this game was to make it a very conversational tone in doing that, addressing the dialogue between characters as opposed to a written performance that you're supposed to read along. You're supposed to imagine it as a dialogue between yourself and the characters. This game absolutely breaks the fourth wall. It's very careful about doing so, only once in a while, but it puts it out there. Basically, the story is there is a great evil, an alien evil that is driving things around town crazy. Dogs are getting off their leash and they're rabid. People are acting strange. Even lamps and small dolls are coming to life and terrorizing. And you have to fight them in RPG fashion by using psychic powers and weapons such as baseball bats and frying pans to knock some sense back into these monsters. The game is in that vein. It's very psychedelic. It's very strange. The backgrounds are moving colors, and the music is phenomenal. The music in Mother 1 was actually a lot of Beatles ripoffs to make it familiar, but Mother 2 and Mother 3 especially, the music is very strange for a video game for kids. It's very jazzy. It's walking bass lines, and in Mother 3, you can do additional damage if you tap along to the beat while you attack someone. I'm tapping my finger. You can do additional damage. So you actually have to internalize that music while you play the game. The music is the thing that I go back to on these games more than anything. I just go to YouTube and load up the soundtrack and listen to that. More than I play the games, I go back and listen to the soundtrack because it stuck with me for so long. Unfortunately, there was a poor reception in America for these games. Like I say, the first one was not released initially. The second one was released, but it did not sell very well. The third was never released. I got to play it because the fans, the American fans of this game, as few as they are so committed and so determined to play these games that a man who goes by the name of Tomato translated Mother 3 into English so that we could play it if you
That's amazing.
on the internet. Yeah, you have to download the game and then apply his patch with his translations in order to play it.
Did he do that for free?
He did that for free.
It was just a labor of love.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Mother 1 now has an American release. Last year or the year before, it came out on the Wii U Virtual Console. So if you've got a Wii U, you can play Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings. But Mother 3 has still never had a release in America. And my experience with it and anyone's experience with it as an English speaker is only through this fan translation.
Wow. I'm also a big fan of like Japanese RPGs dating back to, PlayStation and Super Nintendo. Like you're saying, it's playing off of some of the tropes of the time. Can you give an example of one of those? Because I know a lot of the Japanese RPGs I like are they're pretty long. They're sometimes like 30, 40 hours or longer of like time commitment. They're complex systems of battling and things like that. Like which ones does it hit? Which ones does it shy away from?
So it pulls straight from Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior as it's known in America. It is actually the same technical engine running the first Mother game that ran, I think it was Dragon Warrior 2.
Okay.
So there's a battle system where you fight, where you run, where you cast spells, you cast cure spells. There's a party of up to 4 characters that all have their own characteristics. They're good at magic or they're good at attacks or something like that. There's a unique aspect to this game where your HP or hit points rolls up and down like an odometer whenever you get hit. So this game is a little unique in that if you take a big hit and you're about to die and your odometer is running down, you can quickly get to a character that can heal and heal that person before it rolls all the way to zero and they stay in the fight.
Out of curiosity, why do you think that the American reception was poor? Is it the way that the storytelling or that it's like set up or?
I think it was absolutely marketed strangely. And on face value, it did not hit home because it's a parody is what it is, first and foremost. And 12-year-old kids with a Super Nintendo aren't going to get that right away. I wouldn't have got it when I was that young, that this is a parody, that this is making light of the things that you enjoy and that there's value there. I would have just been confused. Because it comes across, if you don't understand that parody, it comes across as, here's 4 kids walking around in town just like yours. And it's like, that's no fun. I want dragons and I want fireballs. I want something exciting. So that combined with the marketing, which didn't really explain what the game is.
So it didn't market towards older people who would have understood it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Do you have to play Earthbound before you play Earthbound Beginnings if you were to go onto the Wii U and download these virtual games?
So I would recommend, it's very strange. There's 3 of them, right? Mother 1, Mother 2, Mother 3, as they're known in Japan. In America, they're known as Earthbound Beginnings, and then Earthbound, and then Mother 3. The first 2, their stories are linked. Things that happen in Earthbound Beginnings that are paid off in Earthbound.
Okay.
And then things happen in Earthbound or Mother 2 that are paid off in Mother 3. So you can play 2 and 3 without playing 1, or you can play 1 and 2 without playing 3, and you get 2 kind of halves of that Venn diagram. Okay. I would recommend you play them all in order. Earthbound Beginnings is very short. You can beat it in maybe 4 or 5 hours. Earthbound is a little bit more of your 20-hour, 25-hour JRPG. And Mother 3 is about that long as well. So I would recommend playing them in order. Beginnings, Earthbound Beginnings, then Earthbound, and then Mother 3. Or if you've played Earthbound already, which some people may have, go ahead and play Mother 3. You don't need to go back to Earthbound Beginnings right away to get that in Mother 3. So the story is weirdly fractured, but also connected. It was a big surprise for me playing Mother 3 to see how many ways it connected to the previous game.
Awesome.
So that is the Mother series. Unfortunately, it's not available at the library because it's only available on the Wii U Virtual Console. Now we'll move on to Tony. Tony, what would you like to talk about today?
Yeah, I'm talking about a film called 13 Assassins by a Japanese director, Takashi Miike. It takes place in 1844, or at least that might be the exact date, but it's in the Edo period of Japan's history. And it is about samurais going to exact a just killing of an evil lord. And it's a fairly straightforward premise on that, in that the evil lord starts off the movie with a horrible, murdering and raping and taking all these innocents and basically to establish that he's a horrible human being. But in addition to that, or actually even before that, we're given a picture of a very honorable samurai committing harakiri so that he can kind of, I guess, get this message out that I will not serve this lord. So it's very quickly establishes some of these samurai shogunate type of honor systems, which are very powerful when you see them happening and when there's just one person kind of in an inner sanctum of like all these temples and just this wide open space. So it's a very visual movie, even though there's not like any of these like over the top effects or anything. And when you see this person taking his own life by stabbing himself and then like moving this small sword within him, it's definitely earns its rated R rating. It really hits home, and you're like, why did he do this? And then you're drawn in immediately to, well, this is why he did it. Well, there's this horrible dark lord, evil lord. So the surviving samurai this is a time of peace at the present, and one of them, kind of the main person, his name is Shinza. They follow him and how he's like kind of gambling. It's the only time he feels alive is gambling because there's something at risk. And he kind of misses the fight. So when they tell him, oh, we need you to actually take out this evil person, he like starts shaking in excitement. And like, it's kind of strange because it almost puts samurai as like a different type of person in this world, almost like legends living among people. And people give samurai that type of respect. It's also at times a kind of an adventure film because they have to rough this road. And of course they establish a team of 12 assassins. Of course the movie's called 13 Assassins, and they eventually find the 13th assassin while they're going hiking through the mountains after an initial encounter. And this 13th assassin is kind of a mystical character too in his own right. He's not a samurai. There's like kind of a lot of mystery in how he fights with like a sling and rocks, like dual slings and rocks. So it's almost like a fantasy film at points when you think about how is this guy competing on a level of martial prowess that's like equal to these samurai, but he is. He's holding his own, and the movie does turn into kind of a 300 type of scene where through the final movement, I mean, anywhere you read descriptions about this, you'll hear about like a 45-minute long combat. So something that rivals like the Game of Thrones episodes where it's all fighting. And it's very intense, it's very loud, and there's a lot of the preparation of this fight starts and then you're thrown into it right away without any kind of warning other than like a small amount of prep. And it goes on and on and on. And it's pretty bloody, pretty gory, but the action is extremely fast and stimulating. But other than that, I mean, I think that the movie really gets a lot of its strength from actually the commitment that you can see behind the actual actors' faces, and that they find themselves at these like really tense moments, and they really play out those moments like any, I guess, good samurai film where there's a standoff, and it's like a competition of the wills. And there's the opposing samurai who's kind of following things rote and says, disobeying orders is you're not being a samurai. Like my samurai code is to obey orders, not to obey like justice and what's right. It's no, I have to follow. So then there's that philosophical clash too. So I thought it was a very good and representative film if I was going to like pick one Japanese film to share. And I don't know, there's a lot to it, even though it seems like a straightforward action movie. So
when was it produced? Did I miss that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2011 it came out in the States,
so
and then 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it all Japanese production, cast, crew, all that?
Yes, I believe so. Okay. Yeah.
Do you feel like the ending was similar to what we would expect from like a Western-made film?
Possibly. I mean, I'm going to spoil the ending for you guys, just so you guys can make your own opinion about it.
Okay.
He says somewhere in when he's recruiting all these people and when he's getting his group of 12 samurai together that he wishes that he could have died in combat. So without it still kind of comes as a surprise because he faces off against this evil lord and gets struck. And of course, Shinza falls to this guy, and his second in command, his pupil, ends up, living and going on to do whatever he wants with his life. But it's not that he's going to go on and be a samurai because there's not wars to fight. And the whole reason that they were doing this was to prevent more wars, So he's just going to do what he wants with his life. And I thought that was really, maybe not completely Western view of things, but maybe he'll just disappear and become a person again and not have to be a samurai. And I thought that was kind of neat.
Instead of tying it all, like circling back to the beginning.
Right. So it's kind of like he was released from this cycle that maybe his master ended up kind of completing.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Jamie, what would you like to talk about today?
I'm going to be talking about a graphic novel, which is called The Faceless Ghost, which is by Sean Michael Wilson and illustrated by Michiru Morikawa. And it's based on these ghost stories that were written down by Lafcadio Hearn. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he was a scholar who went to Japan and studied there at the end of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s and wrote down all these different stories he heard that were told orally to him by different people there. So this is based on his transcriptions or his retellings of these tales. And it's interesting because I didn't realize that they were available in the graphic novel format until you guys picked it for us. And I thought I would enjoy it because I really like the stories after reading them in text. And I realized I really did not like it in the graphic novel format. And I think maybe one of the reasons is that since it is a folktale, they are shorter snippets, and a lot of it is expository and told in summary, and there has to be a lot of explanation because Lafcadio Hearn was writing this for a British or American audience. So every type of trope or object, he had to do a lot of backstory. And I think with that, it kind of went against the graphic novel format, at least for me. It felt very static, and then the images were more active and dynamic, but the lack of dialogue or movement I felt like was not maybe the most ideal for the graphic novel format. I don't know. What did you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'm also kind of struggling because I did not like it that much, and I'm not entirely sure why. It almost seemed like the stories were too short.
I would agree with that.
And they put in panels just to fill pages in this book. Almost like, these stories could be told in 2 pages worth of graphic novel, 2 pages worth of pictures. But they went to 6, and that was too much, actually.
I think in one way the illustrator might be trying to use the open space panels as types of pauses, which I've seen to effect in one of my favorite graphic novels is Usagi Yojimbo graphic novels, which is about this samurai rabbit. And there you have these beautifully illustrated panels of snow falling on the mountain. You really get a sense of calm or interruption or pause. But here I did feel the sense that they're trying to draw these out, because these stories are a paragraph or a couple paragraphs. And in this graphic novel, we have 6 different ones. So they're all traditional ghost stories, and one of them is you encounter a woman who is a snow ghost, and she comes to you in the middle of the night. And later, this man marries a beautiful woman, and then at the end, she's actually this snow woman who's killed his mentor. And in another one, there's this creepy faceless woman. And so a lot of it is the encounter with the other. So usually these yokai, these Japanese spirit, usually evil creatures that would come out in the night. But for American readers, we don't have a background that would kind of fill in all these extra contextual things. And so it feels kind of flimsy to me.
Right. Well, the Faceless Ghost, the name of this collection, it didn't seem to have weight to it. Because getting lost in the forest and seeing a faceless ghost doesn't necessarily mean anything. Even if you finally make it back to civilization, oh no, it's another faceless person, it doesn't imply the sense of dread to me necessarily. It just says, this is an instance where this happened, and then it became a tale. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to imply out of it.
I think at the time, so these would probably be coming out of the Edo period that you were just talking about, so the 16 to the mid-1800s. And during that time, they would have thought of these instances as showing the morality of yourself, each of these things had a meaning. So it would be very scary if you heard about this story or if you saw something that would seem like the Faceless Ghost, because it would mean some part of your life needed to be corrected, that you would have to go to the temple and then purify yourself in some way. Sure. So in that context, then it would be really scary, because that means it's, this is a harbinger of doom, that they're going to keep increasing, that something bad is going to happen to you. But reading them in this collection like this is not, I don't feel like it gave the effect that it wanted to have. I think for it to have the weight, each one would have to be drawn out, and we would have to be inhabiting the characters in a way that we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was drawn out to be an actual full narrative, and there was a storyline to prop up, we knew who the characters were and their motivations, I think that could be effective. But in this way where it's so short and we don't understand any of the context, I just didn't feel compelled by it.
It kind of evokes that movie trope that it's scarier if you don't see it, if you keep the monster in the shadows.
Yeah.
And so, on the cover, there's a woman with no face, and it's oh, that's what she looks like. That's not so scary.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you just read about the story and you have to imagine in your mind what that might look like, whether you can do so or not effectively, it's perfectly effective on the sheet to show what a faceless ghost would look like. And you're like, oh, that's very normal except for the face. And I can cope with this and relate to it and understand its size and presence and things like that. So I think the graphic novel approach was poor.
I guess, again, my librarian brain kicking in here is that it's kind of marketed as a younger audience type of graphic novel. I don't know that should change our view on it, but maybe it doesn't need to be fleshed out because it's holding the attention of a younger crowd maybe for a little shorter period of time. So,
but I think younger readers you would need more engagement to ask of them, because it is so kind of some of the bits read like an encyclopedia or a Wikipedia article for this story, just like a really short summary. They're describing these terms or Japanese concepts. And if I was, 13 or 14, this is like a YA one. I don't feel like that would draw me in,
If I was 13 or 14 and I had to read something for school, I'd probably choose like 2 or 3 of the short stories, though. That may be the benefit.
So a non-recommendation for the Faceless Ghost.
Lackluster.
Which is not at our library. I had to get it from another one. Though 13 Assassins is at our library. It's on the shelf now.
Thanks for checking.
So if you're interested in checking that out, we have it here. Okay, and then we'll move on to our group discussion, and that is R100, which is another Japanese film. I had absolutely no idea what this was when I picked it off the shelf. It looked like it would be a little racy because there's a woman in leathers on the front, and I read the back and got a peek into the plot, but this movie turned out to surprise me in a whole lot of ways, and I found it a lot of fun. So the basic plot is there is a gentleman who joins they call it a boutique dominatrix agency that specializes in guerrilla acts of public degradation. So what this means is he's walking around and these dominatrices will humiliate him in public. Maybe at the park, maybe while he's walking down the street, they will jump out. And this is what he likes. The very first encounter is at a sushi bar. And this woman approaches, and it makes everyone in the room uncomfortable. And this is what he likes, so this is what he signs up for. But as the story goes on and on, these women become more and more a part of his daily life. And it really starts to spook him. But on the other hand, as that happens, the movie becomes a little bit more unhinged, I think. So what did we think of R100? I liked it a lot.
I was not into it until we got past the halfway point where it kind of then we moved from a more realistic, if kind of offbeat type of movie that is just talking about this man and his sad, unfulfilled life. His wife is in a coma. He is taking care of his son by himself. He's a salaryman, and he's kind of bored, and this is like the exciting thing for him. And so I wasn't as into it that much until we kind of halfway through the film, or maybe like with 2/3 of the way, we kind of bordered into this other land that was much more surreal, much more ludicrous and kind of off the wall. And that's when I really began to enjoy it.
Sure.
We see things like the Queen of Gobbling?
Yep.
I think.
Towards the end.
Yeah. So
oh gosh, that was so weird.
So it's this woman, one of the dominatrices, but her face is very unrealistically looking, but this huge mouth, like this grotesque kind of also looking like one of the yokai, like ghost creatures, with someone's body halfway down her throat. So it becomes so zany and fun, I thought.
Yeah, that had to have been made with like a plastic.
Yeah.
It looked like puppetry.
Exactly.
Puppetry,
that you would use at a high school.
Or something you'd see on the Muppet Show. One puppet gobbling up another.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the parts that I liked the most about the first chunk of the film, the first half or so, were the out of nowhere moments where the dominatrix would just come up, and she might be in a trench coat even, and she would just start kicking him on the street because you'd look at it and it would kind of be washed over almost like a sepia or black and white, and it looked like you were watching an art film or something. And then you realize like, this isn't an art film. This is just like some guy's life, and it's not funny because it kind of goes on for too long, and it's not that interesting. But it's that exact same thing where like you're getting blindsided by weird things happening on the screen that continue to happen, and then like, well, actually, one of the things that stuck out to me was how I think he's at the police saying, "Why can't you help me?" Right. He's like, "You hired them."
Yeah.
You know, and I think he mentions pro wrestling, which I think is great because we have everybody who listens to this podcast hopefully knows about how pro wrestling is staged, and you don't get mad at people in pro wrestling for hitting other pro wrestlers when they agree on that. And I just thought that was a good, because that was right before the shift in the movie just kind of went bonkers. It also takes itself a level back to where there's an old man, the director supposedly, watching the movie, and they say it's rated R100. Only people over 100 will understand this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it pulls out in a meta layer,
yeah,
akin to our discussion about meta last week, where all of a sudden a room of producers, I think, or studio executives.
I think they were the ratings board.
The ratings board. Okay.
I was looking up online.
Barge out of the theater, confused by what's happening on screen, and talk it over and. So we get to see that while the director's in watching his own movie being shown to whoever, the ratings board or the producers, whoever it may be. We're never told exactly who these people are, but it starts off kind of a serious drama because this man's life seems very sad. And then it kind of becomes a comedy because things are so absurd. And then there's a big action scene at the climax where there's explosions and fighting. I don't know.
classical music.
Yeah, Beethoven just streaming out. Yeah. The part that creeped me out the most was every time the lead character feels this ecstasy or pleasure, they'll visually have these little circles or spheres emanate from his face digitally, and they make his cheeks really big and his eyes really small, and he has this look of kind of absurd pleasure on his face, and those creepy eyes, the blacked out eyes, disturbed me.
Yeah,
they really
looked to me like a chipmunk with his cheeks full of nuts or something like that, and the air around his face would ripple, or something like that, and so. At first, you didn't know what it was. It just happened, and you're like, "What did I see? What is going on?" And then you realize, oh, it's happening after these encounters. It's how they demonstrate that he has achieved some moment of ecstasy, and then it's used as a tool then throughout the movie once that's established. But it's kind of terrifying to see him kind of animalistic, like he's become so simple in his ability to input all the sensation that's happening around him.
And halfway through the film, as we said before, he tries to back out of this contract because he sees the effect it's having on his life. These dominatrices are kind of disobeying the rules he thought were in place. They're coming to his place of work. He's afraid other people are going to find out. His son sees it, and he tries to back out of that contract, but they say no. Then they go on the attack against him. And I thought the father-son dynamic was really interesting. There's this one scene where the dominatrix comes into his house, and not only do they tie him up and ball gag him, but they do the same to his son, too. And his son is hanging from the ceiling. And at that part of the movie, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Because up till then, we were having a more realistic, darker portrayal. And I was like, okay, this son is hanging from the ceiling with the ball gag in his mouth. But then right away, then the movie started to turn. So it was the director kind of could sense when moods were shifting and then will turn on a dime.
Yeah.
And it brought me back in again.
Tone is so hard to nail down in a film, and this film changes tone expertly several times between comedy or drama or action into just the right thing at the right time. At the beginning, I was very quiet, and I was almost nervous watching this movie, and then I was laughing out loud, and then I'm on the edge of my seat. It's bizarre. I've not liked a movie in this way in a long time, actually. I've been kind of burned out on movies. I guess I'll watch this. Oh, it's not that good. I just watched Keanu, and I was like, oh, this is not that good. Why am I even watching these movies? But this one brought me back. I'm back into movies again.
All right.
There's these scenes at the end where they kind of do a fake documentary style about this kind of Playboy Mansion-esque home where all these dominatrices are just lounging around in their leather in a pool, throwing black pool, blown up balls at each other, and they're interviewing the dominatrices and their manager or
whoever he is.
That weird pill-popping man who's in charge of them. And it's funny the way that they kind of comedically humanize these queens. They give you empathy in this really hilarious way about them. The queen of gobbling, the queen of saliva, as you see her like spit up smoothies or whatever all over the floor. And then when she dies, it's just saliva dripping out of her instead of blood. So it has these touches of empathy done in a weird way, even though it is all kind of like on this meta level.
Sure.
It just toys with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even the CEO who, out of nowhere, English speaking, and kind of blasts on the stage, you're not really sure what to expect, and it still blows your expectation away. I don't know. It's definitely the type of film where, like, I don't know who to recommend it to, but I want to show it to more people, just to be like,
exactly.
here,
And you kind of have to be unprepared for it.
Yeah.
What did you think would happen at the end? Like, where did you think the movie would end? I thought the movie would end after the Beethoven Ode to Joy, everything's exploding scene. But then it cuts to the really weird
To
part.
one more scene. They had to put one more scene in the movie.
How did you guys interpret that last scene?
Fulfillment.
I think
he is satisfied. He is full of life again,
Is
so to
he,
speak.
though?
I think I blocked it out of my memory.
So
to
he's
be honest.
pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, that, yes.
Yes.
Oh, I did block it out of my
So the
memory.
man becomes pregnant by this CEO dominatrix. The masochist becomes a sadist, and then he births another sadist, is I think the quote there. So he's pregnant, and his young son is, in his underwear, like stroking the dad's, bare stomach, and he's posing around the house. Like, what, you think he's fulfilled?
I think so.
I think, because there's that creepy part where that young son has his, like, moment of ecstasy while looking at this woman, and I was like, oh, this cycle's going to continue. You're never going to get out of it. I feel like it's just going to be rebirthed.
Yeah, it might be. I think maybe certainly there are portents for what his son or sons or daughter or whatever will be, because his son had a moment when a woman threatened to kill him. And so I think he's going to be okay. I feel like he's going to be all right. But his kids, I don't think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to have similar experiences in their lives.
So it's only by giving birth to this next sadist he can be free of
Maybe
his
he
own
passes
thing.
it on.
He passes
Maybe.
it on.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know.
He was pretty happy, way happier than,
Yeah.
to be a guy holding a baby.
So we've talked it to death, unfortunately. Maybe you don't need to see the movie now, but the movie is R100. I still recommend it for the visuals and the pacing and the tone
music.
and the music
was
all of
great.
that
Really
is phenomenal.
kooky music.
R100 will be on the shelf just as soon as I return it, so check it out at the library or check it out wherever you can. It is a Japanese. You'll find it in the foreign section under R for R100. That's it for us at the Pint and Click podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Jamie. And we'll see you next time.